Paddy Pimblett is going to fight Moicano if I have my way. Paddy Pimblett's going to fight Moicano if Moicano has his way. Paddy Pimblett is going to fight Moicano if Paddy has his way. Sounds like we got a fight, doesn't it? It sounds like we have a fight. And you got to dangle just enough with Paddy. You got to dangle in your matchups just enough of an idea that he's going to get his ass kicked. That's where the crowd likes. Now, they like Paddy a little too much for it to be a lock. Like, they don't want to see Paddy in there with a grizzly bear. But they also have seen Paddy have enough success that they need to have an idea that maybe this is the night. Maybe that's the drama that I get tonight. Maybe it's a celebration for young Paddy. But maybe it's a ha-ha to young Paddy, right? Maybe. That's what was so perfect about the King Green matchup. King Green was the official favorite. My partner's DraftKings. Official favorite was King Green. Now, Moicano would be a meaningful step up. I didn't fully know how good Moicano was until his last fight. I knew he was fun, and I knew he was tough. Good is a different question. What Moicano did to Jalen Turner was a shock. Jalen Turner is athletic. He is long. He's dangerous. I mean, he's sharp. His elbows are sharp. His knees are sharp. Like, Jalen, that's a hard night out, any way that you want to do it. And for Moicano to be able to close that distance and get Turner down repeatedly, start realizing, hey, there's more to this Moicano, right? Like, anytime you bring in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, anytime, who can wrestle? When has that formula not worked out since 1993? How many of you even had? All the success Royce had, he didn't wrestle. He grappled and then he could do jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm just reminding you. Damian Maia didn't wrestle great. He'd scramble and get on top. Moicano take your ass down and he's got a black belt. Like, just to share with you, they continually talk about how great Paddy is on the ground, but we haven't seen that. That's just something they say. I mean, I got to tell you, I've dealt with that forever, and I don't think that Paddy would disagree with me. Like to come out and say that he's great on the ground, okay, but what are you basing that on? You saw him in practice one day? Or you guys were at the hotel together, and you say, hey, you shook hands, and you rolled around together. Boy, was he impressive. Now, does it mean that he was impressive in comparison to other guys that actually do grappling, like, say, an Olympian, for example, or, say, somebody that went through Abu Dhabi or the process, for example? Or do you mean you didn't expect that he had grappling, and it turned out he was really good at grappling? Like, it's a very different comment. It's a very different compliment. But I think that's a tough sell, to believe if Moicano got on top, he couldn't handle himself. And you see where that fight gets really interesting, doesn't it? I just told you we have no evidence of Paddy's great grappling. I just said that. And Paddy just did 2 submissions on Saturday. He not only choked a guy, he armbarred a guy. Both of them worked. You'd have to tap from the armbar or the ref would stop it if you were awake to do so. And I'm dismissing him. But I love that Paddy called him out. Paddy only had one ingredient that other stars don't have. Like, if you were to follow Sean O'Malley, you were to follow Israel Adesanya, the guys that got to the top that had a quick wit and a sharp tongue, and people wanted the entertainment side, the guys that got to the top did do one thing, all of them, that Paddy did not. They called people out. And they didn't just call a name. Sometimes it would be looser than that. I want a top 10 guy. Okay, great. I know we don't love those call-outs, but Paddy did neither. He didn't call for a name. He didn't call for title shots. He didn't call for contenderships, and he didn't call for rankings. He really gave us no idea at all who he wanted to fight. Well, that's changed. He called for King Green. You see the kind of stroke that apparently Paddy has. He calls for King Green. He's fighting King Green. He's now calling for Moicano, and I think he's going to get Moicano. Paddy is 2 fights away. They got to be the right fights. He is 2 fights away from fighting for a world championship. And I don't mean that Dana will book him, that Dana will promote him and elevate him into championship rounds, into a championship fight, into a main event of a pay-per-view. That's at least not all I mean. What I mean is, we're going to be calling for it. It's going to be the right thing to do. We're going to see it. We're going to demand it. If Paddy has 2 more wins, the right wins, but Moicano's one of them. You jump in there with a Moicano, boom, you bounce up here. When I look at those rankings, the one that jumps off the page for me is Chandler. But Chandler and Paddy, they kind of like each other. They see each other in the back. There's greetings and they get along. Like, I don't know how much I'm predicting for you these will happen. I'm just sharing for you. Paddy is finally calling people out. Paddy has become a big star the same way that many other guys got over. But there was one thing that was missing. It was glaringly, blatantly, obviously missing from his formula, which was the call out. And Moicano doesn't represent the first person that Paddy called out. It represents the second. The first person he called out was King Green, and he got that fight. Paddy the Baddy is going to be fighting Moicano. And that's great news. Because Moicano needs money.